Many definitions have been proposed for the term public relations, some of them thousands of words long, yet all of them slightly different to each other. However, what we know for sure about this field is the fact that certain people have had a significant impact on it, and out of them, one stands out most of all: Edward Bernays. Although you surely have an idea about what public relations mean, how much do you really know about the founding father of this profession? Many people analyze Bernays' contribution to this field.
This is the story of Edward Bernays, the man who manipulated America.
Edward Bernays persuaded women to smoke.
Edward Bernays said politics was the first big business in America.
So then there is this guy, Edward Bernays,
a public relations agent who was greatly influenced by and intimately connected to Sigmund Freud, his nephew Edward Bernays.
Propaganda is an influential book by Edward Bernays, came out in 1928.
Bernays was the nephew of the iconic psychologist Sigmund Freud and arguably the father of public relations and propaganda.
And we hope that at the end of this presentation you'll have a better understanding of how big of an impact his actions had. Edward Bernays' interest for this field was sparked by his uncle, Sigmund Freud, specifically by his work on psychoanalysis and the repressed subconscious tendencies and desires of the human being. After seeing how propaganda worked in times of war, Bernays figured that it could also work in times of peace. As the word itself, propaganda, had negative connotations, he created the term public relations councilman. As a result, Bernays was often portrayed as the father of propaganda, a title he didn't mind. He maintained that propaganda was a laudable and necessary component of a democratic government. What made him stand out was his idea that in order to increase goods consumption, one had to change the aim of advertisements from showing the basic functionality of products to making them desirable, and shift the mentality of the average American. Over the course of his successful career, Bernays was hired by numerous American corporations and he created highly effective campaigns. Today we will take a look at 4 of them, which redefined the marketing and communications industry. Number 1. The Torches of Freedom. During the 1920s, there was a taboo against women smoking, and one of Bernays' first clients was the president of the American Tobacco Corporation, who was looking for a campaign that would go beyond this mindset. Advised by a psychoanalyst, he concluded that linking women independence to cigarettes would be an outstanding strategy. So, he hired a group of rich young women and had them light up Lucky Strike cigarettes at a certain moment during the New York Easter Parade. He then communicated to the press that their gesture was a protest, and he called the cigarettes accordingly, Torches of Freedom. The brand then became well known as a symbol of gender equality and women independence across the US, creating the idea that if a woman smokes, it makes her more powerful. The overwhelming success of the campaign fascinated American corporations, who increasingly started asking for his expertise, which leads us to campaign number 2. Hearty Breakfast. You've all heard the saying, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but Bernays took this phrase to the next level by reinventing the original American breakfast. Hired by a meat company which had the intention of increasing bacon sales, he began to wonder, who tells the public what to eat? So, he spoke to a number of physicians, and together they concluded that a heavy, protein-rich breakfast was better than the American breakfast of that time, which consisted of toast, orange juice, and coffee. The campaign was of great success, and the hearty breakfast became the authentic American breakfast we all know today. Number 3. The Guilt Barrier. Another interesting campaign that Bernays created was the one for the Betty Crocker instant cake mix. At the time, a study was conducted on this product's target audience, and it revealed that women felt a sense of guilt when preparing an instant cake, as it required no effort at all. The solution that Bernays proposed was to reformulate the cake mix recipe so that it needed an additional egg, thus requiring more effort from the person baking it.
Betty Crocker cake mixes are different. They call for your eggs, added by you at home. It's the only national cake mix brand that lets you add the eggs. There's a reason why there are no dried egg whites, No dried egg yolks in Betty Crocker cake mixes. When you add the eggs, you're sure to get finer cakes most consistently. 9 out of 10 homemakers in recent tests said Betty Crocker cake mixes gave them bigger, taller cakes than the dried egg cake mixes they tested. Yes, and better tasting cakes, too.
Sales figures spiked, and so another phenomenal campaign was born. Number 4. Cleaning up the act. Bernays' work with Procter & Gamble's Ivory Soap is another textbook case of marketing psychology in action. Bernays' strategy was to tackle the fact that children despised using soap and bathing by creating a massive event, the National Soap Sculpture Competition. The competition ran annually for 25 years, involving millions of children, and cast the name Ivory Soap into the public consciousness. Bernays also started events such as the Soap Yacht Race in Central Park to prove it floated better than the competitor brands. Furthermore, he hired a medical consultant to survey American hospitals on their preference for white, unperfumed soap, such as Ivory, rather than the colored, scented soaps most competitors used. As you can see, Bernays' methods were and still are extremely controversial, but the introduction of psychoanalytical techniques in shaping consumer demand is the foundation upon which all modern marketing and PR was built on, and he was the man behind it all.